Still no updates there, Gary. No, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding with you. Okay, so updates I have for you, Gary. Colby Parkinson will be in concussion protocol when he hit his head on the corner out in the red zone, making good progress. Do expect him to be available. He's doing good, but he is in the protocol. Omar Spate's got a high ankle. His status for this week will more likely be doubtful. And then, Tyler Higbee and Rob Havenstein, Tyler with his hip and Rob with his ankle, are making good progress, and we'll have updates to see how they're doing on Wednesday.
Okay. In terms of the Ravens, it looks like, well, I guess we don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. Do you guys prepare as if you're going to see him, or how do you kind of structure?
Yeah, you have to plan for both. I think, we're in the early phases of that. I still think it was helpful on that Thursday game to be able to let guys get away. You put that game to bed, and then I think it's really important for coaches and players to both be fresh. And so, we'll get a jump today, but I did think it was important for guys to be able to, enjoy their families. I think that's when we get the best out of them. But that's something that you have to closely monitor and be able to have contingency plans for either or, with us obviously preparing for him. But whether you see, some other guys, you do need to have contingency plans.
And then a two-part question. How did you spend the weekend? And how would you kind of assess where you guys are at? I mean, 2 losses to 2 4-1 teams, with and some crazy circumstances in both games.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, Gary, it's unique because, I think both of those games, were very winnable. I think we would all agree on that. We didn't. We could be 5-0. We're a 3-2 football team. I really like this group, though. I love what they're about. I love the resilience. I love the toughness. I love the ability to stay in the fight. I think we're just looking for more sustained execution throughout. I think we're looking for, hey, can we provide clarity from a coaching perspective to allow these guys to go cut it loose? I think we've learned a lot in the first 5 weeks, and I think there's still a lot to be had. I think we'll use these disappointing things that have occurred as an opportunity to strengthen and callous us in ways that just wouldn't exist otherwise. So I like that because that's the truth. That's where we're at. I spent the weekend, trying to enjoy, some time with my family. My folks were in town. My little boy, my wife. Was it as enjoyable as it could have been? No, it wasn't, Gary. But it is. I'm excited to get back to work. I was ready to be able to get back with these guys, get moving towards, our goal of playing really good football against a really good organization, great coaching staff, a bunch of great players. I don't care what's happened. This is a prideful team. We better be ready to freaking go this week. And I'm excited to attack this preparation, with our group to be able to respond accordingly. And, I think you look at the reasons why things haven't gone down. We need to be able to address those things, but we also can't lose sight of how many positives there are. I believe we've got the right kinds of people. I love this team. I love this coaching staff, and I'm really excited. And I've never had any sort of growth that's ever occurred in easy times. You don't want it to go down like that, but man, we're going to learn a lot more about ourselves and the people that we're around, and I think we're going to like what we see that wouldn't exist otherwise if maybe we found a way to pull those games out. So there's a heightened sense of urgency that wouldn't exist. But I like this football team. I think we got a long way to go, and I think there's a lot of improvement to be had, but we're going to be all right.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Sarah?
Hey, Sean, now that you've had the weekend, do you evaluate the kicking game any differently than when we talked to you on Friday?
Yeah, I think you lean in. I don't want to get too granular with you guys for the different reasons that it hasn't gone down, but there's going to be an intentional approach, all hands on deck, which that's always been the case. And, we'll lean in more than we have. And I just refuse to believe that this isn't something that we can't fix. And we're going to continue to fight, scratch, claw, to be able to give the techniques, the fundamentals, get the right people in the right spots, and then ultimately understand what is going to be required for us to execute at a high clip in a phase that is supremely important. And, and it's cost us through the first 5 weeks.
Do you expect Steve to be available to play?
I do. Yep.
To start?
If he plays and practices the way that I believe he's capable of, yes.
Thank you.
Stu.
Hey, Sean, when you talk about response and just seeing better than you hear, what have you liked so far that you've seen with the team's response, even just coming into the building today? And then what does that look like over the course of the week in terms of the things that you look for and try to uphold and whatnot?
Yeah, I think the vibe, the energy, the intentionality, I think ultimately it starts with us, with the clarity, the communication, the feedback that's back and forth between the coaches and the players. And then the energy, the vibe, and then the ability to be able to go execute while understanding that football is an imperfect game. I think you can feel those things more than anything else. I have zero doubt we have the right kinds of people, Stu. I do think that they're mentally resilient. I think they're mentally tough. I think that, when you feel much, when you care much, you feel much. And I think guys are disappointed, and I think that's okay. But hey, the reality is that's in our past. How do we learn from it, and how do we use it to fuel us the right way with that urgency, that sense of enjoyment for the blessing that we have to be able to do this? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing, and I have zero doubt that that's what we're going to get.
And then if Omar truly ends up not being able to go on Sunday, who would step up for him, or is that something that you guys are still working through right now?
We'll work through that. I got a lot of confidence in Troy. You got a lot of confidence in, some of the different guys. Obviously, Dolak, we only have 4 guys on the roster, but Troy is a guy that's shown that he's more than capable of, as is Sean Dolak, and we got guys on the practice squad, but haven't gone down, haven't gotten too far deep into that quite yet, Stu.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam.
Sean, last time we asked about Tyler Higbee, the impression was that he had checked out, like the hip had checked out. Can you kind of take us through that timeline and whether or not it was re-aggravated?
Yeah, you know what? I think it was. So the hip thing was he did that the week of the Indianapolis game. He pushed through. He's such a tough competitor, Adam, that I think, our job is to sometimes protect these guys from themselves, really both he and Rob. And you're really saying, are we setting them up for successful outcomes? Those guys would play and do everything that they can. We had to kind of make a decision that what was best for them. And then are they able to functionally operate and execute the way that we believe that they're capable of? And just because that can be a lingering thing, a short week, felt like erring on the side of caution with him. We'll see where he's at on Wednesday, but that was kind of the thought process of why we were a little bit more careful and cautious against the Niners.
And going back to the start of the offseason, it was clear run defense was going to be a priority for you guys in terms of room for growth going into 2025. What were the conversations like at the beginning of the offseason in terms of like how to approach that, whether it was replacing current players or like kind of what you guys did in terms of like enhancing the group that you had?
Yeah, well, I think it was identifying the guys that maybe we'd want to re-sign or where is their market. Puna Ford was a guy that we had targeted, and then, there was an intentionality about potentially being able to draft and develop like what we've done with Ty Hamilton and continue to lean into the guys that we do have, knowing that, their intentionality and the way that they're being coached by Giff and Drew. And, even if you bring the edge guys into that group with Joe, the growth that would occur there. So invested in both of those, the interior and the edge, in the draft. Obviously invested in Puna Ford. He was a guy that, we really had a lot of love for based on going against him in Seattle and then watching his body of work and with the Chargers last year. So that's kind of a little bit of insight into the dialogue for you.
When you draft a member to the defensive front who, like in 2023 and 24, who had made their names as pass rushers, what is that process of getting buy-in in the run game as they develop as pros?
No, they're just their competitive character. These are the right kinds of guys. I mean, you get recognized for that kind of stuff, but these guys understand you earn the right to be able to do that by being stout at the point of attack on the early downs. The competitive character of this group is so special, and I think they're led by special coaches, and so you don't necessarily have to create the buy-in. I think it's more of the big picture understanding of earning those opportunities to be able to rush the quarterback, be in some of those situations where you feel like you more have the pen a little bit defensively.
And when you were in camp week 1, week 2, what were you looking for to see if the team had made the progress that you wanted to see?
I think the consistency of execution. It's always hard until you get into those tackle football moments. But are we playing with the fundamentals? Are we killing blocks? Are we, the block destruction? the pursuit to the football, the way that we end up, using the appropriate tackling techniques while not truly tackling, the way that we're attacking at the football. I think all the things that are key and critical to the fundamentals without actually being able to bring somebody to the ground. But, I've been really pleased with that, and that's been a strength of our unit for sure.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
And we'll wrap up with you, bro.
Hi, Coach.
Hey.
For Kyle Williams, his craft as a pass catcher has been much improved. What have you seen from his the way he approaches the craft and the execution of it?
Yeah, you said Kyron?
Yeah, Kyron Williams.
Yeah, I think he's been a complete back for a while. The other night was a great example of, his effectiveness and his efficiency. And, I think we're at our best, Brock, when we're able to use all 5 eligibles. And, in a lot of instances, sometimes we're asking those guys to protect. He was able to be a factor the other night based on just some of the coverage contours and the looks that they were playing. And I was really pleased with him. And I think the cool thing about Kyron is the one that he'll bring up to you will be the 3rd and 6 that he expected to be able to catch that could have extended a drive, earlier in the game. But did a really nice job. I was really pleased and proud of Kyron in the pass game.
Last time the team went out to Baltimore, Davis Allen had a great day. What have you seen from him throughout this early season, and do you think that he could possibly emulate that performance against this Baltimore defense?
Yeah, he did a really, really good job. Igby was injured. He had to step up. Had a big 3rd down and 1 conversion that ended up getting called back. Then he converts on a 3rd down and long. He did a really good job. Had a touchdown off of a screen. And so Davis has always just answered the bell, Brock. I think he's a mentally tough guy. I think he competes really well at the line of scrimmage. He's good as a move blocker. He's got great soft hands. So I think he's just continuing to ascend into a complete tight end. And he showed early signs of that his rookie year that you're alluding to. And he had a great performance that gave us a chance to win that game against a team that was as hot as anybody at that time.
And my last question, Coach, is what are your initial takeaways from the entire rookie class of this early part of the season?
Yeah, I've been pleased. I think, if you go through each individual, I think it's still really early to write the narrative, but I love the way these guys have approached everything. I love the way they're fitting in. Some guys are getting a chance to play more snaps than others, but I think that'll be, appropriate. And I know I understand what you're asking. So I've been pleased with those guys. And then I'm looking forward to, as the season continues to build, watching those guys continue to grow and develop and become more central pieces to what we're trying to get done.